Charlie Kirk was just shot. And since no one asked, I thought that I would give my opinion. And in my opinion, I don't think that we recognize the consequences of such political acts of violence, no matter what side of the aisle you reside. They fuel polarization and deepen divides, which endangers so many people. And full disclosure, I'm not a Charlie Kirk fan, but I did thoroughly enjoy watching university students school him on domestic and foreign policy. But leaving room for duality, right? Two things can be true at the same time. And in a state of normalcy in this country, it wouldn't matter politically as much the targeted act of political aggression against Charlie Kirk. But we are not in a state of normalcy in this country. Not that I believed in it much before, but the fabric of this country is eroding. Constitutional protections are becoming obsolete, and the very people who are tasked with protecting the rights and protections as outlined in the Constitution are becoming obsolete. These guardrails are essentially becoming null and void, which makes it easier for these seemingly isolated acts of political aggression to escalate into cycles of retaliation. This is all to say that this should not be celebrated. I'm obviously not a conservative, but I do believe in objective and logical reasoning. And objectively and logically speaking, political acts of aggression should never be celebrated. So I fear that people have confused logic and objective reasoning with sympathy and condolences. And you would be wrong, because I do not equate sympathy and condolences synonymous with objective logic and reasoning. Okay? I will not lose any sleep over this man. I think that the general public will be better off without it. He incited political aggression all on his own, and he was certainly complicit in the acquiescence of consolidated political power within the Trump administration, painting him as this charismatic leader, which is dangerous because he was the most potent opposition to democracy among young folks. But I don't believe that the fact that he met his destiny will help fix what's plaguing this country right now. Similar to the fact that the decapitation of established terrorist organizations have proven to be a fruitless endeavor. Notice how I never mentioned his death as a symbol for any type of martyrdom. I explained the implications of political violence and a state that's democratically backsliding into an autocratic or, God forbid, authoritarian territory. But you know who will paint his assassination as martyrdom? The ultra-nationalist conservative right will use this act of political violence as an excuse to tighten control. I actually think it will make everything that we're experiencing right now worse. I am talking civil war. We already have the makings for a civil war. Hear me out. I was talking to a colleague of mine about this, and we were considering which states sent their National Guards to DC. Those are your military combatants. The ultranationalist extremist groups are your militias. Meanwhile, the federal government will use conflict as an excuse to tighten control, but they have their own inner fighting as well. We see this Candace Owens, Marjorie Taylor Greene, because the political spectrum is shifting. I would argue that we haven't had a political spectrum shift like this since probably the Reagan administration, but I'm not a historian, so please don't quote me on that. God forbid that the government has officially gone clandestine, or this was some ruse to incite conflict as an excuse to tighten controls over liberals and liberal ideas and ideology. So instead of maybe hearing it as something bad that happened without seeing its consequences, maybe you should take it as a sign. And I wish that I were exaggerating, but I'm not. They are flying flags at half-mast, for God's sakes. All I'm saying is now is not the time to be reckless. What I will say is that you're all of a sudden trying to understand how to live in such a hateful world. You are absolutely blind to what's been happening for the last 15 or so years. Welcome aboard, baby, because we are already driving this ship.